This Mitchell Robinson injury thing is starting to feel a little bit weird. Could the Knicks be without him long term? Could Ariel Hukporti be the solution? Find out next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin, Schall. I'm a native New Yorker, a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade and the Saturday coast of the Locked On NBA podcast. He is Kris Pursiainen, a Knicks beat reporter, NBA-wide beat reporter for Clutch Points. And together, we're on Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. On today's show, we are talking injury updates for Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns. We are getting into how Ariel Hukporti performed as the replacement, whether we'll be getting some Guershon minutes there, some Cat minutes there, some Trey Jemison time. He looked pretty good last night, especially on the defensive end of the floor. We're going to be talking about Cat's performance in game one, his role, how he's going to handle this quad injury. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Kris, you were in the building last night. First time the Knicks have beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a while. Game one of the Mike Brown era. What was that like?
It was cool to watch it happen and have it not be a dress rehearsal, to use Mike's own term from preseason. It was just felt good to be in the swing of things. Like today I watched Magic Heat on the way to work. I watched Spurs Mavs at work, and I watched the first 3 quarters of Wolves Blazers on the way back from work. Like, I missed that. I watched something like 140 or 50 regular season games last year across the league, and I wish it was more. And I feel like now I actually have an opportunity to go, do that. So I was pretty stoked about everything, the whole league.
It's cool to see Wemby's just far and away the best player in the world now. That's scary, but we'll save that topic for another day. Right now,
top five by November? Question mark.
I mean, I think I had him at 6 in our Locked On poll. So I guess I was pretty close to there, but yeah, I think he might be top 5 today. I don't know. That's a conversation for another day though. Let's talk injury updates. We got a lot of them. Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Karl-Anthony Towns. Sounds like Josh is questionable to make his season debut, dealing with that back injury against the Boston Celtics. Karl-Anthony Towns played through a grade 2 quad strain. I don't know how concerned to be about that and whether that's something he should maybe be sitting with. Obviously, yesterday, I don't think we talked about it on the post game, but for those of you who don't know, he went from everyone presumed he was playing to him being doubtful to him being questionable, then to him playing and having a fairly good performance. The most concerning one, though, is very clearly Mitchell Robinson in something, unless Kris, tell me if I missed something today on this, but that has been deemed sort of like an implicit load management, injury management of his ankle from last season. There's been a lot of probably well-reasoned conspiracy theories that like this is clearly like a new injury. You generally do not sit a guy for injury management in the very first game of the season. What is your take on what's going on with Mitchell Robinson?
Yeah. I didn't know what they'd list him as having, but I did figure they'd list him as having something, because if you play the first half of your 3rd preseason game, you're the only starter not to play in the second half, and then you don't play the rest of preseason, and then it comes out well before game 1 that you're not going to play in game 1 for load management. Like, I don't think it's rocket science to be like, that's not load management, but you also just don't want to say those things. Like, you can leave that for people who are going to say those things regardless. Like anyone with any semblance of like responsibility is going to wait until the date you literally know the team has to say something by. And so they did. They said something. And I guess it was unsurprising. I mean, I would understand. I saw a fan on Twitter yesterday say it was relieving to see that it was the left ankle and not some new injury that no one knew about. And it's like, there's this saying in Spanish that boils down to like the devil is better than the one you don't. Which is like, yeah, all right, Mitch has this ankle thing. Maybe that's better that it's back than it is that it's something else. I think that's missing the forest for the trees. I think like an ankle still being a problem is not a good sign for anyone, particularly someone of that stature. And with his injury history. So, I think it was Schwinn that said this on Twitter. I'll steal it from him. The Knicks have seen year after year that Mitchell Robinson is pretty essential to their playoff success if they've had some. So, or when they've had some, rather. Most of the time. Jeez, I needed like an edit button on that first sentence. But anyway, like to some, and my point is, if he's healthy by the postseason, which obviously the Knicks can't guarantee right now, but they can take steps to control what they can control, then that's not optimal, but it's better than missing him in a playoff series, which they have and which has not gone super well.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with your point. And to me, that's how I would approach all these injuries. I would be really conservative with Cat. I know I mentioned when you were on the show, like if I were Josh, I would have gotten surgery on that finger and just gotten fixed. And whenever he's back, he's back. I think we see that this Knicks team has real depth. And more importantly, like if you want to question the quality of that depth, like Mike Brown trusts it to some extent or another. And just as much as he trusts that depth, he trusts like the massive amount of frontline talent that this team has accumulated to keep that depth afloat. Like if you're going to have lineups, right, with Tyler Kolek and Trey Jemison on the floor, it's like, all right, well, we're also going to have Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, and they will keep those lineups afloat. They will keep those lineups a net neutral. And I think we've seen, like, again, we're one game into the season, so who knows? But I think we've seen over the last couple of years, like, I don't believe, like, barring a long-term injury to Jalen Brunson this year, like the Knicks should not fall below the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and in turn should probably be very conservative with their injuries. That being said, I do think it's of greater importance for Mitch than I would argue, even though, as we'll talk about, like Cat still has a lot to figure out in this offense. Josh inevitably will have a lot to figure out in this offense. I almost think Mitch in some ways has the most to figure out. Like he's just being asked to do stuff with the basketball he's never been asked to do in his career, with the dribble handoffs, like hitting some of the backdoor stuff, and just generally playing more than a foot away from the basket as a guy who for the bulk of his career has maybe been the single most rim-bound player in the NBA. I do want to see him get time operating in that, and it is concerning. Like, one, just the fact, if he's hurt, as you said, like that is inherently concerning. But I think it is particularly concerning if he doesn't get early season reps with all these other guys as they figure it out, and instead you're having to integrate him when everything else is a little bit more up to speed. I'm curious what that will look like. Obviously, there's just stuff he does on the basketball court, and even if he doesn't fully get that, will be incredibly valuable. In some ways, it looked better in the preseason than I would have thought when he did get chances to do all this, but I think it's really, really important he just get court time with the starters. Him and Cat barely have had reps together a little bit over a year into this experiment. It's just so essential they get to play together a bit.
Yeah, I will say though, like, as you get in late game situations, and then the entire postseason kind of feels like a late game situation besides, your first round blowouts and this and that. There's much less scripted stuff going on, and it really is just more like feel it out, read and react. What Mike Brown is trying to prepare the Knicks for and right now, and tried to prepare them for through the preseason. So, particularly with Mitchell and Josh, I think those two guys have styles of play that are pretty conducive to just getting out there and giving what they've got, and not some intense strategic deployment of whatever. Like they're going to be running. They've got to be healthy. I will say defensively, they've got to know what's going on, and the players have spoke to how things are differently defensively, how there's different instincts they need to develop. So that obviously can't happen if you're not practicing, but at least in the case of Josh, it seems like he's able to do some stuff. So, these guys they're listening, they're working on the same stuff.
Yeah, I am I'm excited to see what it looks like when they're fully integrated, because it looked really promising. And one particularly promising piece of night one, a guy you were shouting at all preseason, Ariel Hukporti. We're going to get into him in just a sec, because I'm really excited about what we saw. I'm excited about what the future could be with Ariel Hukporti. But first, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it incredibly simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. I love that I'm getting the same exact quality I got before, but just for a fraction of the price. Their setup is super easy. You keep your number running. You keep your same number, and then you're running in just minutes. Ready to say yes to say no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payments of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I also wanted to tell you about one of our other newest friends here at Locked On, and that is Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. Just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You can connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, what up? We're back here, Locked On Knicks. Gavin, Schall, Kris, Pursiainen. We're going to talk about Ariel Hukporti a little bit, because Mitchell Robinson potentially out a substantial amount of time. The Knicks have a history that apparently is going to continue under Mike Brown. Was not just a Tom Thibodeau team of not being super transparent with the long-term injury outlook of their players, most famously OG Anunoby. Yeah, he's day-to-day. Oh, he got surgery on his wrist. He's going to miss a month. So we'll see how long we're without Mitchell Robinson. Kris, you were very good about noting this throughout the preseason. Mike Brown's philosophy in these situations is not necessarily like next man up. It is like, how can we best maintain like the lineup structure, and how can we best maintain the roles of everyone on the team? And in turn, instead of just moving Deuce McBride into the starting lineup, Ariel Hukporti got the nod, was the fifth starter, had a much more significant role in the first half of the game than in the second half, where he did not see a whole lot of court time. 18 minutes, finished with 2 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 fouls, 1 turnover. I was really excited by what we saw from him on the short roll. I mentioned this last night, but he was responsible for the very first basket of the game, setting a screen for OG Anunoby. Cavs all night were blitzing on the ball. OG hit him on a pass over the top. He zips one to the corner to Jalen Brunson. Has another nice read off a slip on a screen for Mikal Bridges, where he hits Cat over the top for a dunk. I do think his passing, obviously particularly significant when a defense decides to blitz the ball handler. But it's always going to be important. Like in this read and react system, it's something. There was one play against the Sixers where Mitch ran pick and roll, and he was kind of asked to do something similar where he should have sprayed it to the corner. Mitch has never really had to make that pass in his career. So instead he threw up kind of an awkward runner, missed it. I do think Hukporti brings something very real to the table. We've also talked about his verticality on defense. He can get to that little Hartenstein-esque push shot. He seems like a really, really clean fit for what Mike Brown wants to run, and allows the Knicks to be super big while still having like just a pretty high collective pass, dribble, shoot level across their starting lineup. But what did you make of his game one performance? What do you make of his long-term outlook if Mitch does potentially only play half this season?
Yeah, well, Mike Brown has a penchant for, and he's open about this, playing third stringers, right, in the starting lineup, as to not disrupt the congruity of two
Good
lineups. Thanks. Two different lineups where, okay, now the one's out, so you got the 2 as the 1 and the 3 with the 2s. Or the other option is to shorten the rotation, which Mike Brown just said last night to reporters after the game. We wanted to play a lot of guys. That was our goal, was to play as many guys as we could. Just trying, give guys chances and get guys out there and, play a bunch of guys. Like, I think there is something to the notion that, or rather, I think there's not enough behind the notion that playing a bunch of guys, means like your best players play fewer minutes. Like, Mike Brown's system, Tom Thibodeau's system required a lot of like endurance and a lot of stamina and really just defense is the linchpin of everything. Mike Brown's system, yes, defensive attention, this and that, but like both ends of the floor, you need to be ready to run is like the biggest takeaway and things I've heard, kind of like the players themselves are learning in real time. Like, oh man, we are running. I've heard that guys who have played under Mike Brown have said that, there were some of the harder practices they've been part of. So this is a big contrast to a head coach like Tom Thibodeau, under which the starters didn't really practice. They weren't getting run up and down the gym all week long. So it didn't matter that they were playing 46 minutes. They were ready to go for more. Mike Brown is really set on teaching habits, teaching principles, developing instincts and habits the hard way, because that'll stick. So, when it comes to someone like Ariel Hukporti, he fits right into this all, because if Mitchell Robinson is out, Ariel Hukporti can plug into the starting lineup. Who was the starting center of the vaunted, infamous January Knicks?
Isaiah Hartenstein.
And also wearing number 55 and like half German and left-handed is Ariel Hukporti, the center. So for Huck, Mike Brown said last night, he's got this like floater kind of thing, and like I don't really know what it is, but it's going in, so I let him shoot it. And like I was thinking like, well, he knows what like a post hook is, but then I realized like, yeah, what Ariel's doing is kind of like, it's like the basketball equivalent of a slurve. You know what I mean? Like it's
dude, it's pretty similar to iHeart's like patented flip shot. Like it's his own.
So that's the thing. It's like it's a push shot, but it's a little bit. It can be running, which then makes it a floater or a runner.
Yeah, but
it's not a runner because it's out of a post touch. Sure. So then it's like what is that? Well, it's a post flip up.
It's a Hukporti.
It's a post flip. Well, I don't know. I'd feel bad robbing Isaiah of his ingenuity here in New York, but that's a shot that Mike Brown's fine with him taking. Fred Katz asked Mike Brown about Ariel's reads out of the short roll. I've said from back when Ariel was drafted that the Knicks are high on him. The Knicks really like what he brings to the table. And one of the things that particularly intrigues them is his ability in the short roll. So Mike Brown talking about it last night and saying, yeah, there's more to him in that regard, kind of gives you a window into what his offensive involvement could look like. Mitchell Robinson may not miss as many games to start the season as he did last year. We don't know. I can sit here and list every number from 1 to 82 and say, we don't know if he's going to miss that many games. We don't know if he's going to miss 2 games. We don't know if he's going to miss 3 games. So we can do this for the next 18 minutes, but it doesn't change that we just don't know. What I can say is the Knicks are both equipped for this, and they have the right coach for this when it comes to missing key rotational players.
Yeah, I do think the one upshot of this situation is obviously we both know, most people listening know, Mitchell Robinson's contract expires at the end of this year. Knicks were not able to reach a contract extension with him. It is going to be tough given their financial limitations to pay Mitch, frankly, what he deserves, even with the injury issues, just because he is such an extraordinary game changer when he is healthy. It's worth getting an extended look at someone like Ariel Hukporti and say, like, how does he look against like your main rival and getting out of the East. And granted, like this wasn't the kind of night where he was going to be on an island against, I mean, maybe there was a world where he ended up with Donovan Mitchell, but not on Darius Garland. Did have to battle on the glass with Jared Allen. Evan Mobley got one of those flip shots just absolutely sent by Evan Mobley, like a little belated welcome to the big time version of the NBA for him in that moment. But it is cool to see him play out there with the starters at his fit, because I think it is going to continue to take time for him to acclimate and find his comfort level and find his spots and find like what just his confidence to shoot and when it's appropriate for him to shoot and how Jalen should be playing off him. But I am really excited because I, like you, just big believer in the combination of intelligence he possesses, athleticism he possesses, and skill set he possesses. Like I think it is probably more likely as a backup, but I think there's a guy there that's going to have a 10+ year NBA career. Maybe that's a lot, but I'll call it 8. Like I think he's going to be in the NBA for a while. I think there's a real role for him, and it's imperative for the Knicks to figure out what that looks like, because it's pretty clear Mike Brown, maybe not to close games, but to open games, is going to want to play 2 bigs. And we'll get into it in just a sec. Like, I don't quite know if Guershon Yabusele is up for being a 5. And I'm curious just how big the Knicks want his role to be a night after playing 12 minutes. We're going to talk about that. And just to say, sorry, go ahead.
It might be small sample size theater, but like they gave him some run at the 5 in preseason because injury kind of necessitated it. And Mike Brown was like laughing through his teeth about how bad defensively that lineup was. So, this might be a something where another way in which he's like Tom Thibodeau and a lot of other coaches. And it doesn't really matter what the data has said over a guy's career. If they see what something looks like and it's not up to their standard, they'll pass.
Yeah. I think there might be a real reason for that, but we'll talk about Guershon. We'll talk about how Cat fits into all this next, right here on Locked On Knicks. First, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I got to say I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I just had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims has changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims Stretch 5-inch boxer briefs, and I am hooked. They are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and stay in place all day long. When I'm working out, playing hoops, or just running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you after you place your order. Select podcast in the survey and select Locked On Knicks in the drop-down menu that follows. All right, what up, Gavin, Schall, Kris, Pursiainen. Before jumping to Cat, I'm curious what you thought of Guershon so far. I saw someone on Twitter like pretty enthused about his performance last night. I think I've been a little bit disappointed relative to my expectations as someone who's not watched a lot of him. Like, there were some hits and misses defensively. Like he had one possession where he slid his feet just beautifully with Evan Mobley to force a tough miss on a layup. There was another play where like he just didn't quite have his footing right on a closeout, and Larry Nance absolutely just coasted by him for a dunk that didn't look good. Mobley torched him a little later on for a layup. He got his one shot just sent by Donovan Mitchell in transition, where he put up a little pump fake, got impatient, shot it a little early instead of just kind of getting Mitchell on his hip, and Mitchell was still able to elevate, get to the block. The defense has been pretty concerning for me so far, and I almost haven't seen quite enough offensively to offset that. I know I threw that out there last time we were on together, and you were sort of the opinion that like he was going to be one of those guys. And I hear this because he's such a gamer, he's so competitive, such a smart player, that like it was going to translate and look a little better in the regular season. But on a night where you don't have Mitchell Robinson, where Cat is in foul trouble, not playing a particularly great game, you only get 12 minutes from Guershon Yabusele. Do you think that is like a pretty like realistic guesstimate of what his role is going to look like going forward? Is that just sort of like Mike Brown saying, hey, I don't really like this particular matchup for him, and other nights we'll see him out there for 22 minutes? Like, what do you think his role on this team looks like?
I think it's game 1 of 82. I think the Knicks were happy to sign a guy that they were targeting. I think they like having him in the mix. All of these things can be true before the season and still now after preseason and after game one. And that can be true in spite of the fact that the worst lineup the Knicks played yesterday, had him in it. Just by plus minus, the worst lineup was that Cat and Yabusele front court. The couple of minutes they went to that, it was like maybe 3 minutes or something like that. Like really not much, but worst analytically. He's been running, man. He's been running. He's been getting after it. He has been not making shots. And I think that's kind of the big thing right there is like, if this guy had 1 3 yesterday that blew the crowd up at a pivotal point in the game, people would be like, oh my God, he's already having moments at the Garden. And this, so like, I don't know. I wouldn't be too concerned about him. He's a talented player, especially as the season gets into swing and he gets more comfortable in a new city with a new team, with new teammates, with new coaching staff. Like that'll all happen. Also, talk about the system. I think I brought this up on the literal last episode I was on this very show, that Mike Brown has highlighted that him and Karl have the 2 biggest transitions to make. He has said himself that they will take the longest to get acclimated. And he said this because of the fact that they're pretty much the tight ends in his system. Yeah. And it's like they have multiple roles they need to learn. Tight ends need to learn how to block. They need to learn how to run routes. They need to learn how to block as, the outermost member of the line. And they also need to learn, how to run routes from the slot or from, lined up on the outside. Like boundary receiver is a different role. Like that's all under tight end, but here it's power forward center. Let's break that down. Mike Brown has said if you're playing center in his offense, that you are either running the floor to the rim or trailing and shooting threes. And those are pretty much the 2 roles that his offense ends up sorting guys into. Yabu and Cat both present on paper as the trail and hit threes kind of guys. I think Cat doing a good job yesterday getting to the free throw line, kind of giving himself something consistent, reliable offensively. We talked about on the last episode as well how last season it was unsurprising that it was one of the couple of seasons of his career that he attempted more free throws per game than 3-pointers per game. It makes sense based off of how many times you saw him kind of following Jalen Brunson in on a drive to crash the glass. It makes sense that he would draw a lot of contact and not shoot as many 3-pointers. You're seeing Mike Brown trying to find a way to blend the 2, have him, running the rim. I think there's something too, and Brian Windhorst was talking with Rich Eisen today about this, and he made the point about what some other people have been saying about Victor Wembanyama's game, which is it's fascinating that what differentiates him from the rest of the crowd is that he has the handles that he does, right? That he has the guard-like ability to dribble and shoot the basketball. But why is that the differentiating factor? Because he's 7'5". So like every step he takes away from the basket, he is for the defense mitigating that he is 7'5".
Yeah.
If you want to think about it in a more literal sense, right? Like Karl-Anthony Towns at the 3-point line is 6'9". Like that. He has a lower release point, I think, on his shot, or at least a lower start point on his shot, where it's kind of like a fling from the top of his head level. Exactly. Yeah. So you could say he's functionally 6'9" from the 3-point arc. When he gets closer to that 10-foot basket, you can't deny his height. You can't deny his size. So, I do think that there's something to, with all the analytics that I support, that I am very into, that I pay for monthly out the wazoo to access. God damn. I'm super into all of that data, and I'm into using it in an informed way to help make decisions in sports or in whatever. But I can't help but wonder if we underrate or underconsider or underweigh the weight and the value of tall player should go near basket.
Yeah, like especially hyper coordinated, great finishing.
It makes me think about pool basketball, and it's like, oh, I'm tall, so I'm gonna shoot over everyone, and it's like,
I'm jacked and tall, and I'm gonna muscle my way through all my
I
little
love
cousins
basketball, man. You made my day with that
throw
reference.
them against the tile and crack their heads open because I'm a foot taller than all my little cousins, and I'm just gonna Godzilla my way to the rim and stuff a dunk home. Like, I wonder if Karl Towns and Victor Wembanyama and some of these other really talented 7-footers that are infiltrating the NBA nowadays, I wonder if they don't almost do themselves a disservice. Karl-Anthony Towns kind of doesn't do this. He just doesn't really take as many threes as people really want him to. Maybe this is part of why. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe part of him knows he feels like he's at more of an advantage down low. So I don't know, man. But I think Karl had some good involvement yesterday offensively, has a lot more to learn and grow in this offense. But for a guy who said he doesn't know what his role is going to be because he had never played a real full go game on this team with this coach, and everyone was like, Karl-Anthony Towns drops truth bomb on lack of role. Mike Brown, who can't coach, doesn't have star big man knowing his role ahead of 2026. And it's like, well, Karl-Anthony Towns is getting paid $50 million plus a year to go out there and score the basketball. He and you and I and his coach all know damn well he is not getting paid that amount of money to go out there and stifle opposing offenses or block all of their attempts at the rim. He's out there to play offense, and he's going to do that as much as he wants to or can within the confines of what Mike Brown's asking of him. But I don't think it's page 6 news that he said he doesn't really know exactly what his new role will look like when no one even ever said he would have a new role. Someone asked a question on Fred Katz asked a question on media day to Mike Brown about him wanting to get Jalen involved off the ball more. I assume it was an informed question. He said, yeah, I do want to do that, and opened up about it. And then the second Jalen gets to the podium, it's like, Jalen, Mike said you have a new role in the offense. What do you think about that? You have a different role. He's going to give you the ball less because he wants to win more. Like, what the hell is Jalen Brunson supposed to say to that? Like, these guys are just exhausted of weeks and weeks of being asked about their new roles in an offense that they haven't played a game in yet.
Yeah, I think all valid points. It was a gutty game from Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, I did not make enough of mentioning the injury on the show last night. To your point, gets to the free throw line 9 times. Makes 8 of them, had that one just absolutely sick high pickup drive into the little push shot on Mobley. I'm fine with nights like that, like 4 threes. Like, it is, to your point, like, I think where the analytics.
That's good enough for you?
What? Sorry?
That's good enough for you?
I would like a little more, but I was going to say, like, I think where the analytics and your point to, like, the fact that he's just a dynamic, threatening driver converge is, like, there's still, even on nights where he takes 4, like, his 3-point shot is still a weapon for the Knicks on every single possession because you still have to guard him. And because of the passive impact that he has, and, like, especially playing time at the 4, like, where he's constantly stationed behind the arc, he is pulling a defender away. And it's just sort of finding that right balance, right, between passive impact and active impact. And I think I would imagine that, like, that's what he's concerned with, like, because I don't think Tom Thibodeau, because they didn't really get a chance to last year, figured out what the active impact from Karl-Anthony Towns would look like when him and Mitchell Robinson were playing together. And it's crucial that Mike Brown solves that over the course of the season. Last night was a perfectly fine start. I had no issue. I doubt Kat had any issue. The Knicks got a big win, so everyone should be fairly happy with that. But that is it for now. He's Kris Pursiainen. I'm Gavin Schall. We'll catch you both really soon right here on Locked On Knicks.